Hello, Alison Morris, and I'm back with a video to show you how to do tapping in preparation for our free webinar on Friday, January 20th. When you tap, the first thing you're going to do is identify a problem, an emotion that's overwhelming you. Could be a physical pain somewhere in your body. It could be a troubling memory. It could be a fear of something happening in the future. But for our purposes right now, let's stick with an emotion that you're feeling. And let's go with something that this community can relate to, something like being shocked to learn that your child is transgender. Now, this is not something relevant for everyone, of course. Some folks saw it coming from miles away. But in some cases, it can be an overwhelming revelation. And your body goes through certain physiological changes when you get sort of shocked like that. So let's go with that. I want you first to notice where in your body you feel that shock or sense of overwhelm. This sort of, I can't believe this just happened sort of feeling. You might feel a sort of a thud or deadened feeling in your heart, or maybe in the pit of your stomach. You may just sort of feel numb all over. You may have a very different response, but identify that and just sort of notice it. And then what you're going to do is rate your level of distress on a scale of 0 to 10, where 0 is everything is fine, no problem at all, and 10 is you're at the maximum level of distress. And give yourself a rating on that scale. It doesn't have to be super precise. We're just trying to get a little bit of a before and after rating. Generally speaking, when you do tapping, you want your distress to be at least above a 5 and maybe around a 7 or 8. If you're at a 10, we can talk about that later. And then what you're going to do is state what's called a setup phrase and repeat it 3 times while you tap on this portion of your hand. It's between the wrist and your little finger. You can tap with either hand on either what's called the karate chop point, or you can call it the hand point. And you're going to state a setup phrase, which has 2 parts, the statement of the problem and an affirmation. So in our situation, it might sound something like this, and you just tap while you're talking. Even though I am completely shocked to learn that my child is transgender. And you can just repeat after me. And now comes the affirmation. I completely love myself anyway. And then we say it again, even though I am absolutely shocked to learn that my child is transgender. I deeply and completely accept myself. Even though I never saw this coming, and I'm numb with shock at this news, I accept myself and the way I feel. And then you take either hand. I'm right-handed, so I usually tap with my right hand, but it doesn't matter. You go to the top of the head and just tap lightly on the crown of your head while you state what's called a reminder phrase. I'm completely shocked. And we go what's called the eyebrow point. You can use either side. Tap very gently. This shock about finding out my child is transgender. Side of the eye, right at the side tip of the end of your eye. Just very gently. You don't need to poke yourself. I never saw this coming. Under the eye, gently again. My body is numb with shock. Under the nose, that little indentation right above your upper lip. this shock at finding out my child is transgender. What this is called the chin point. Again, it's the indentation below the lower lip this time. I'm completely in shock about this news. And then we get to the collarbone point. You're going to find your collarbone on either side, drop down and over just a little bit. There's sort of these indentations there on either side. If you think you're having trouble, I like to use all 5 fingers. You can tap with both hands. You can use one hand and, let's get this out of the way, go across. So you make sure you really get that point. This is a really important point for a lot of people. It can provide a lot of relief. The shock. And the last point, which is the oddest one, is called the underarm point. And it is about 4 inches under your arm, about where your bra strap crosses if you're a woman. And just, again, tap. You can reach across your chest to tap it, or you can curl this arm under and tap there. This shock at finding out about my child. And those are the tapping points. That's what we call 1 round of tapping. Take a deep breath. And then sort of tune back into your body and your emotional state and give yourself another rating on that scale from 0 to 10 and see how you're feeling. Many people, when they do tapping, yawn or sigh. Other people don't necessarily have those physical responses, but you might find that your shoulders are dropping back down if they were really tense and tight. You might find a loosening in a knot in your stomach. You might find a headache starting to resolve itself. And that may not happen after just 1 round of tapping. But I wanted to give you an idea. We'll talk during the webinar in a lot more detail about how this all works, where tapping comes from, different ways to do tapping, how to identify what's going on, all those sorts of things. But there's a visual, because we're going to be on the phone, and it's nice sometimes to have a little bit more of a visual representation of how to do tapping. So thank you so much for joining me, and I look forward to tapping with you on the 20th. Bye-bye.